we got about 2 minutes before the show start.
Okay, that's cool.
So
how long is the show?
The radio show is an hour.
Okay.
Right? So it's gonna be an hour on the radio show. Now it depends on how long the conversation go or how good the conversation go.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep going, but that's totally up to you.
Okay.
But yes, it's an hour. We got the first 10 minutes, first 20 minutes, and then a break, and then the second 10 minutes, and then a break, and then the last 20 minutes, and then a break. So
okay, sounds good.
I just shared it to your page, so it should be live up there.
Okay, cool.
So so we're going to start the show in about 1 minute. I'm gonna switch the microphones to the radio station.
Okay.
You don't be able to hear me until the radio start, but you'll hear the music coming in to kind of cue the show in.
Okay.
And okay, everything's set up here. Welcome everybody to the show. We're going to start the show in about a minute, so y'all bear with us. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the U-Turn Show. I am your host, Richard Taylor, and you're listening to WBIS 106.9 Awesome Radio here in Greenville, North Carolina. If you haven't been to our website, please go to the website, www.wbisawesomeradio.org, and download all of our apps on the Google Play, Alexa, and the Apple Store. And once again, I am your host, Richard Taylor. I got a very special guest. First of all, I want to just thank God for allowing us to be here for another week. But I do have an amazing brother on the show. I want to introduce to everybody, Mr. Cassius Alexander, aka Cash. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you for being here, man. And if you don't know Cash, he is the founder of Lockdown Publications. He's also the author of about 18 books, and also he is the mind behind a new film, which is called "Till the Casket Drops." And he's doing some amazing things. But of course, this is a U-Turn show, so we always start off with the background. And I'm going to let Cash tell us a little bit about where you from. Where was you born at, Cash?
I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, on the east side.
East side, okay. Now, how was it growing up in Cleveland?
Well, okay, so I come from a large family of 11. You know what I'm saying? So we started off, in the deep hood, and then eventually moved to a little bit better area, but it was still the hood, like, all places. So growing up, it was things, of course, I didn't have, but I'm not one to be able to say I grew up in total poverty, because that would be my mother. She always made a way. We didn't have everything, but we had what we needed.
Okay. You said it was 11 of you.
Yes. 6 boys, 5 girls.
6 boys and 5 girls. Y'all had it. So which one were you? Were you like the middle, the youngest?
I'm third from the youngest.
Third from the youngest. Okay. So now I always ask people because once again, so there's a stereotype about fatherhood. So was your father around?
My stepfather was there when I grew up. You know what I'm saying? So I had a stepfather. who I remember from a very young age. I know my father and all that, but the
Okay.
stepfather was in the home, and he was absolutely like an amazing man. You know, when I look at it now, when I was younger, I didn't see it that way. You know what I'm saying? But when I
Uh-huh.
got older, then I realized the strength that he had because he was kind of quiet and reserved. But yeah, so my stepfather was in the home.
Oh, okay. So I guess sooner or later, I guess you started, getting into the streets.
Right.
What
Definitely.
what were some of the influences that got you turned towards that path?
Okay. So when I was in school, I was a straight A student, played sports, basketball, boxing, all those things. So even though I was doing the little things like selling marijuana and stuff like that in school, I didn't really hit the streets like super hard until after school. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? So I was like smart in school, bad outside of there. You know what I'm saying? But what when I really, really got all the way in the streets, I had moved to Atlanta. My family was still in Ohio, but I came to Atlanta by myself. My thoughts was I was coming to Atlanta to turn professional as a boxer. And
Okay.
then I started, doing the street stuff, you know what I'm saying? All the way, full hood. So I think, I mean, like most people, the attraction to the street came with the fast money, the fly girls, the cars, the money, and all of this. And this was before the crack era when I first got in the street, because it
Okay.
was
This
really
was
just,
before that.
it was before, because it was cocaine, but it wasn't crack yet when I
Okay.
first got in the streets. And then it escalated to crack, or you could say the demise came with crack. But what I'm saying
Yeah.
is crack came after that.
Yeah, okay. So it's
Yeah.
funny because I had sort of the same story, like real smart in school, played sports and
Hmm.
everything. But once again, after school, like you said, in school you dibble and dabble with the marijuana, selling weed here
Hmm.
and there. But then after school, I kind of jumped
Right.
into it. So moving to Atlanta though, like you went there, you didn't know anybody, you
Okay.
just
So now, well, my biological father was down here, but when I
okay,
came down to Atlanta, he got incarcerated like 3 or 4 months after I came. You know what I'm saying? So then when I first came, of course, I was working a job. And like I said, I wanted to turn professional in boxing, but I was working a job. But, I knew, okay, I knew my mindset was this. I want some fast money. I want to do it because you got to understand, I went down there with nothing but $600 in my pocket and a raggedy car. So
okay.
my mindset was, okay, I want to come up. So my thought was, I'm going straight in the hood. My father didn't live far from the project. So I knew that once I blended in well there, you know what I'm saying? So you meet a female or two down in the projects, and you get to figuring out who is who and what is what. You know what I'm saying? And
Uh,
started selling weed like that through her, and then went to powder cocaine. And
hmm.
you're down there now. You're meeting people and all of that, and setting up drug traps and all those type of things. And so that's what got me fully entrenched. And once I started getting a taste of that real fast money, then it was
Uh,
different. And I had to be extra hard because I was from out of town and I ain't
yeah,
have nobody with me. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I had to be extra hard.
So how old would you say when it really started getting deep for you? How old was you when you say would you say
In 19, 20, 21, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? When I really,
okay?
really, really started getting really deep to where my mind wasn't on working no job or, no college stuff and that. It was just fully entrenched in the streets. You know what I'm
So you
saying? So,
stopped the boxing and everything.
right, I just stopped that. You know what I'm saying? Because, boxing takes a whole lot of discipline. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So you ain't going to be able to succeed at that and then be out there in the streets and doing this and that because something's gonna slip. What you're doing in the streets is gonna slip because you ain't gonna have your eyes on it, or your training is gonna slip. And you can't have that because I wasn't gonna go in that ring halfway because I know you can't get in there like that, and I'm not
Uh,
one that want to lose. I never envisioned myself knocked out on the mat and getting counted out, and it never happened. You know what I'm saying? But
okay.
so once I got in the streets, it's like most things that I do. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lock this down, and I'm gonna do that.
Full
I had
fledged.
a take over, take charge type personality, and so when I went in, I went in.
Okay. So now I always know. So how long did that run last?
Okay, so I'm gonna say 5 to 6 years.
Five,
You know what I'm
six
saying?
years.
So you take the first couple of years, you just building it up and you just getting some money. You doing something. You ain't on top of the world. You just living good, but you ain't locking things down. Now, once I start locking things down, whole neighborhoods and all of that stuff, then once I did that, I probably got a 3-year run. You know what I'm saying? After
Okay.
that, so it might have been total 5 or 6 years, but I got a 3-year run of, living good, making money, but those things don't last.
Those things all that. So at one point, you got, I guess, arrested, and
Right.
you ended up doing how many years?
I did 27 years. I was
20.
arrested and I actually had life plus 30 sentence. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So my
So
sentence was for trafficking cocaine and felony murder. Now,
okay.
in my case, my felony murder, it was not really related to the industry. I'm not in the streets. It wasn't really, really related to that, but they tied it to it because drugs was found at the location too. It
Okay.
really wasn't that. And it was one of those cases where it was accidental, really, truly
Okay.
accidental. However, they wasn't going to let it go like that because, like, before that, I had got arrested for a different homicide in
Mm-hmm.
which they dropped the charges, you know what I'm saying,
Okay.
with lack of evidence and stuff like that. But
Okay.
they didn't forget.
They
You know what
wanted
I'm
to,
saying?
pretty
Yeah,
much.
they didn't forget. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Yeah, because I had got arrested then for triple homicide in which they couldn't charge me with. You know what I'm saying?
so
And
how
then, but
long
they
did you stay in jail for that?
less than 60 days.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because
So,
the ironic thing about that was that when that thing happened, I was in the hospital. So they knew without a doubt that I did not do it. I
uh-huh.
did not do it. But they wanted to charge me with uh giving the order to do it. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying? So
Conspiracy.
they knew without a doubt that I could not have physically done that anyway.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So, but anyway, they had it for me. And then not only that, I was very, very flamboyant. I was the one with the Benz with the gold grill, gold rims, this and that. I had
Uh-huh.
all of that stuff. And I was young, arrogant, talk a whole lot of junk to the police when they pulled me over because I knew I was going to be clean. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I had a kind of relationship with a female officer on the police thing. And they
Okay.
hated that because they suspected they didn't know it. But they, you know what I'm saying? So they was kind of out to get me. But like I said, in this situation that I was found guilty of felony murder and trafficking of cocaine, I probably should have been found guilty of manslaughter, accidental, but they weren't going for it.
Okay. So they
Yeah.
got you for 27. Well, wait a minute. Life plus 30.
Yeah, they gave me life for felony murder and 30 years for trafficking cocaine.
So life is 25 years, right?
Well, here is different in Georgia. So life means you have a life sentence, but you're eligible for parole. Today, you wouldn't be eligible for parole until after you serve 30 years. But
Okay.
when I came in the system, you was eligible for parole after 7 years on the life sentence, but you weren't going nowhere. You weren't going nowhere. That was just to keep you calm and hoping. You know what I'm saying? So they give you that and hope you go to prison thinking I got a chance in 7 years. So let me not act a fool. But
Yeah.
you weren't going nowhere. It ain't happened. You realistically wasn't going nowhere until you did 25, 26 years or something like that. So I ended up doing 27 years.
27 years off both charts. Like, did they run
Yeah.
them concurrent?
They ran it concurrent, life plus 30. The court ran them concurrent, but when you get in the system, the parole board merges your 30 years into your life sentence because the life is the overruling felony. And so
Okay.
you just basically doing your life sentence.
So now tell me, because I read a post earlier, man. How was your time? Like I said, 20. Man, I talked to brothers. Like I said, I just went to Delaware and congratulated the guy who did 25
Mm-hmm.
off a natural life sentence. So those
Mm-hmm.
are some those. I mean, that's a lifetime.
Without a
So
doubt.
So how, how did you survive in there, man? What kept you sane, and what kept you, hoping, or with a
Okay.
positive mindset?
Well, I've always had a strong will and a strong mind to feel like whatever situation I'm in, I'm coming out of it some kind of way. So when I went in, I was like, okay, let me find out the earliest or the least amount of time a person done on this life sentence. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And how did they get out and how I'm going to do this. That was my mindset. And then older cats who have been in there, they always told me, you're going to get out one day. You know what I'm saying? They say, you're going to get out, but you just got to make sure you're alive to get out and that you don't catch no more serious time while you're in here. And it's
Okay.
like always work on your case to try to get it overturned. Don't never stop working on that. And, don't get caught up in this, that, and, the other things that can get you more time. So I always felt like I was coming home, but I didn't go in there being like a good boy. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't mad at the courts because I knew at the end of the day, I was guilty of some of that. I knew
Okay.
that without a doubt. So my
Okay.
mindset wasn't like, oh, they screwed me over. Yeah, they lied to be able to convict me, but I did some of it. You see
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
I got you.
So my mindset, and then somebody had lost their life by my
Mhm.
hands. So my sign was, regardless of how much time I do, they're dead, I'm not. And so at the end of the day, it's justice in some regards. It's a
Mhm.
certain amount of time I had to do. So I went in there, but I still had a street mentality. I was selling drugs in prison. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I was doing all the things I did on the street for the first 10 to 15 years. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, I was
Okay.
still doing those same things in prison.
So
So I was
what
like,
made you turn over that leaf then? Because you
well,
said evidently something made you
right.
stop.
Oh, right. So, okay, I was writing, but, I had spent 7 years locked down in the hole. You know what I'm saying? For 6 years and 9 months. I wrote a lot when I was on lockdown. But what really made me kind of leave it alone was because I was getting older. My children was getting older. And my mindset was, okay, I got to do something different. Or when I get out, I'm going to end up doing the same stuff in the streets.
Mhm.
And I seen people go home after doing 20 some years or whatever and come back. I didn't want to be like that. And then I had sons who were growing up. And for me to be able to talk to them on the phone and tell them, hey, look, don't get in the streets, don't do this, don't do that. I couldn't say that. And then I'm doing it in there. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I
Okay.
couldn't be hypocritical and tell them that I had to clean me up. And I had to show them my mindset was, I'm going to do something to show my children that no matter where you at, no matter what your circumstances is, you can succeed and overcome them without having to do crime. I wanted to show them that. And then my sister had told me one time, because, I stayed in the whole lockdown. They were locking me down a whole lot. And she said to me, she said, Cash, how long you going to do this, man? How long? And she said, look, if you be the best drug dealer in the world, you ain't going to do nothing but end up with the most time. She said, what you need to do is do
Whoa.
them books. She said, that's what you better at than anybody. Nobody can
Wow.
write better than you. You know what I'm saying? Concentrate on that.
Uh,
And so that kind of had my mind to it. And then in all things, while I was dealing drugs, I had a crew in prison. You know what I'm saying? Because I was locked down a lot of times. So they was handling everything out in general population for me. But I was the one suffering all of the consequences for the most part. You know what I'm
okay.
saying? Because they knew who ran the thing. And so I was suffering most of the consequences because that's what they wanted me. And so my mind, I had been wanted to leave it alone and concentrate just on legitimate things. But I had dudes that was up under me that they wasn't straight. I was straight financially, but they weren't. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? And that kept me making moves for them. You know what I'm saying? But finally
Okay.
I said, you know what? I'm leaving it alone. And I left it alone.
So people marvel, man. And I always marvel. Like I said, I only did 7 months in prison, but I always
Mm-hmm.
marvel how people can, make moves like that
Mm-hmm.
in the prison. So it takes, what I'm saying, it takes a business mind. I think we was talking about that before the call about, the enterprising
Mm-hmm.
of, cats in the streets,
Right.
and then that and how that translates into, legitimate business. And we're gonna
Right.
get, we're going to get into that. But I do want to ask you a question as well, because I think I read earlier about, a poster saying, okay, well, you went through 2 dangerous situations in prison, almost near-death situations, and we'll expand upon them. But you also say, well, this come from a man who doesn't pray. But I say making it out was a blessing. But I always notice, the cats who really make it and change, they either turn to, Christianity or Islam or, Buddhism. So what kept you from going that way? And, what was your, like I said, for lack of a better word, faith? You know what I'm saying? Because most guys who do that kind of time, they turn to a higher power.
Right. Okay. So now you got to remember, for many, many years, I was a 5%er. So
Nation of Gods and Nerve.
Nation of Gods and Nerve, absolutely.
Okay, definitely.
So but this is my set on. This is how I see that. Okay. As far as
that's a faith too,
right. I get you. I get what you're saying. But even though it's not, but I know what you mean. But because faith is to have belief in something, and from a 5%er standpoint, a God, they don't believe in anything. It's either facts and you can prove it, or it don't exist. So that's a difference in faith. But let me just say this. Even when I was young, I never accepted the concept of a God. I never accepted that. Now, the reason why I didn't accept that, and it's okay for anybody that do, but I'm kind of an intellectual, and you have to prove something to me. You see what I'm saying? You have to prove it to me scientifically and everything. You have to prove it. If you can't prove it, just tell me to believe something. That's not me. You understand? And it could be for someone else, but it's not me. So therefore, I didn't have that. And especially, when you grow up, you're young, you got this struggle, you got that. Man, I've seen so much heartache and bad happen to good people that went to church and prayed and all. So I asked myself, how can this really be? You know what I'm saying? How can it really be? And then sometimes it was like, if I went to church when I was young, my mom made me go to church, and we went to a Christian church where they shouted and did their thing there. You know what I'm saying? Because they catch the Holy Ghost and shout. And they make
hold that thought. We got to take our first break. Stay right there, though. I want to hear this, bro.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Awesome Radio 106.9. We're going to be right back in a minute. Y'all stay tuned here with Cassius Alexander. And we are back here at 106.9 FM Awesome Radio. I'm your host, Richard Taylor, here with Cassius Alexander, Lockdown Publications, to my Casket drops. And we was talking about as a child, you said you used to go to church with your mother, and people would catch the Holy Ghost. Well,
right. Okay. So to continue that, so I might see them catch a Holy Ghost, and they shout and what they do. And then say 2 years later, they were no longer Christian or Baptist, and they went to, say, a Seventh-day Adventist. And then say those people didn't shout. So they didn't shout. So to me, it was sort of like a learned behavior, because I felt that if the word made you shout, in this church over here on this avenue, it should make you shout on that church over there too. And so to me, it was like a learned behavior. Now, what I want to make clear is this. I'm not saying anything or down in anybody's faith, because that's what they believe. And then this is what I can say. In my lifetime, and even especially in prison, I've seen many people that go into Christianity or Islam, and it has made a tremendous positive effect on their life. I've seen many people where that happens. So if it helps that way, it's good. So here's what, when I say it to me, I'll just say that I don't have the answers for that. I don't know that to be, you know what I'm saying? Just like when I was, you know, in 5%, it was many things that was taught there. I wasn't going for it. I wasn't going for it. You know what I'm saying? And I had many debates with guys about that. I wasn't going for it. You can't tell me that, because life has shown me something different. So don't ask me to believe my ears over my eyes.
I love a free thinker, man. Like I said, I love free thinker. Like I said, I just left, like I said, Delaware, the guy did 25. He's a Muslim, you know what I'm saying? But I, you know, and I identify with Christianity. But I'm like, if that helped you get through that, you know, like, bruh, you know, do it. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, like it whatever, as long as you ain't out here stealing, killing, robbing, we'll sort all that up in the end. You know what I'm saying? Whoever's right. So whatever works, long as you are doing what you're doing now, helping the brothers in prison, which we'll get to. I mean, you know, like I said, I love it. I love what you're doing. So but those two instances in prison though, like tell me about those. The one you was writing about, I think today.
Okay. So one of the instances that I spoke on when I almost died, that was on the street, you know. So on the street, I've been shot, and on the street, I've been on fire when I almost died in there. Now, it was a incident in prison. That was where I came close to die, when I got stabbed. But the thing was, I got stabbed in the leg, not in the chest or none of that. And I was doing what I was doing, you know what I'm saying? And I got hit in the leg, but it hit an artery. You know what I'm saying? And so I was bleeding out fast. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, in prison, it'll take the medical people a long time to get to you. And then don't nobody really want to get involved, because, you know, coming to your aid could put them in the danger of whoever you was at beef with. You see what I'm saying? And all of that. And like I say, I wasn't getting wet up. I was doing as much wetness they was doing to me. I just got hit in the leg, you know, and it hit an artery and all of that. And that's when I almost died. I'm talking about I was very close to death, very within an inch away of it. You know what I'm saying? And it was just because I was bleeding out. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, when I was, you know, when I was locked up in prison, you have, especially as the years went on, everything's so gang related. You know what I'm saying? And most people that aren't in a gang, they're Muslims or something, because that gives them numbers. Me, I wasn't none of that. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I had things, you know, material things and all of that. So you have to be well respected to be able to do that and stand alone. You can't just be tough, you know what I'm saying? Because you're going to have numbers against you. You have to be very well respected. You know what I'm saying? And which I had that, but you still going to have things, because you're going to have young guys come in, and you're going to have to do it.
How did you earn that respect though?
The main reason I earned that respect was this. One, I came from the streets with respect, in the sense of this. Yeah, I was a money getter, but I wasn't. They always respected the fact that in the streets, I wasn't like a money getter and be like, okay, I got some young boys on my team and I'm going to send them to do this. They knew that I was coming myself too. That was the first thing. And then in prison, okay, you go to prison, it's like, okay, you ain't got your crew here. Ain't no automatics and this and this and that. Now it's man on man. I dealt with that. You see what I'm saying? And so they knew, one, that I could stand up and handle me. You know what I'm saying? And they also knew, one, I was a man of my word. I always did. If I promised you this, I gave it to you, whatever it was, whether I gave you the business or I gave you $1,000. If I promised you, you get it. You can bet that. Okay. So I was a man of my word. I'm not telling nothing. They know I'm not doing no snitching. You know what I'm saying? I was who I claimed to be. Now, I'm saying that meaning that I was a man of my word, 100% man. I went behind the doors, homosexual stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now, what I say about that is, if a dude came in prison, he was a homosexual, that's his life. That's who he is. And you got to respect, that's who he is. That's just who he is on the street and in there.
Okay.
But if you on the street, a man, and then you come in there and you doing this and that, people don't respect that. And I don't respect you not being who you are.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But me, they know that one, ain't none of that me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to stand on my word, and I had principles. And my principles, I'm going to stand on them, regardless of how tough it got. So that's how it was. So I respect it because of that, not because people feared me or none of that. They knew that it was going to be some consequence to messing with me because I was well-liked and I was going to represent for myself. You know what I'm saying? But also because I'm a man of my word. I'm going to do what I say, and that's just how it is.
So on the streets, you said, so was the shooting and the fire two separate instances?
Two separate incidents, yes.
All right, so let's go with which one came first?
I was early in the game when I got shot, but I didn't almost die there. Even though I got a big hole in my leg, I didn't almost die because it missed all the major things.
Was it
you know what I'm saying?
A little beef, street
yeah,
beef,
a little beef. You know what I'm saying? And now when it came to the fire, that was the incident that ultimately led to me being in prison. You know what I'm saying? In which someone lost their life, but the person that lost their life was my girlfriend. But I did almost die in that fire, but I would manage to get kids out of there. You know what I'm saying? So I almost died then. And, see, some things about the streets, when you're in the streets, it's some stuff that's going to happen, you know what I'm saying, that don't necessarily deal with drug dealing. It's just because you have a reckless mindset. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be reckless to be out here doing that to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to sit up here and act like, I was always a man of my word, even in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Nobody had to worry about me I wasn't a robber. I ain't a thief. That's just not my thing. You know what I'm saying? I ain't setting you up or selling you some work and then coming back. I don't do that. I don't do none of that. That's not me. But by the same token, you're going to have people that want to take it from you, and you have to stand up to do this. Then ain't no doubt about it. I was a woman. I had a whole lot of women, and you just live reckless. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So some of those reckless situations, you have a reckless mindset, and many things you get into, you make decisions that can ultimately cost you a whole lot of things. You know what I'm saying? So here's how I look at it. I got convicted of something that really was accidental, but I think about the things I got away with that I did not get charged for and all of that. And, so sometimes you got to pay for that. You paying for a lifestyle, a choice, a way you live it. But when I look at it, it's so many people I know, they lost their life back then. I went to prison for 27 years, but I'm alive today. You know what I'm saying?
You're doing well.
And that's right. That's right.
You got a story to tell. So we got about a minute for our last break. Was you around Atlanta when Big Meats was around there?
No, they came after I left. I got locked up in 91. They came after that.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the books, next right beyond the break, man. But yeah, man, that's what you said about just that lifestyle where like you said, I got shot, but I ain't get shot by nobody in the streets. I got shot by this girl who was trying to who just know I had a lot of money, wanted to set she wanted to rob me, like won't no street, won't no won't nothing dealing with drugs. It was just but I was reckless. You know what I'm saying? I was just reckless, just living a reckless life. So I can definitely attest to that, man. We're gonna be right back here on 106.9, man. Here with Cassius Alexander, Lockdown Publications. We'll be right 106.9 FM. We are back here at 106.9 FM Awesome Radio, here with my brother Cash, Lockdown Publications. Miss Jane Panella says, Cash. I guess that's one of your fans. I don't know what's up with these
Yeah,
comments. They're not
Jane,
really.
absolutely. How you doing, Jane? James is
Hey,
a strong supporter of myself and Lockdown Publications.
thank you for listening and watching, Jane. We certainly appreciate you. Now, so let's get the Lockdown Publication. So you
Okay.
started writing while you was in. Now, did you
Yeah.
publish your first book?
Yeah, I
when you
self-published
was
my
in?
first book. Yeah, I self-published it after being rejected like 20 times from different major companies and all of that, which I was newbie. I was a new jack. I ain't know how to go about it. But so I self-published. My people was selling my book out of the trunk. Now, you got to remember, this was way before Amazon and Kindle books and all of that. So it wasn't easy to self-publish, and it wasn't cheap. But I self-published. My people were selling the books out of their trunk. Somehow, all the way from Ohio and Georgia, the book found its way into Wahida Clark's hands up in New Jersey. She was locked up. Anyone knows Wahida Clark was national best-selling author. She was getting ready to come home from her own bed, and she was starting her own company. And somehow it found its way in her hand. She wrote me a letter and told me that was the best street lit book she ever read, Trust No Man. And she like, hey, look, I'm starting a company, and I would like for you to be my first author when I start my company. So she came home 6 or 8 months later, started a company, and my book, Trust No Man, ended up being the very first book released up under her label. I did like 4 books with her, and then I branched out on my own.
Wow, man. That's amazing. Yeah. So out the trunk of the car, so you was in and you had people out there pumping them like that.
Yeah, I had people out there pushing them, you know what I'm saying? And it just happened to end up in her hands. You know what I'm saying? I was raw because I didn't know as much about the industry. I knew how to write because I grew up doing that. Like I said, I was smart in school. So my thing in school was journalism. So I knew how to write. I could write all my life. You know what I'm saying? But now what happened was my ability to write was able to mesh with what I had lived. So I was able to tell a story in a fictional manner, you know what I'm saying? Because I had those real experiences. You know what I'm saying? And that was the thing.
Our fiction, our fact-based fiction novels.
Yeah, I call it fictional reality because when you read one of my books, you ain't gonna read it and be like, oh no, that can't happen. You're gonna feel the character and you're gonna feel like he must have lived this life because many things in my stories are based off of true events. You know what I'm saying? Or things that could have happened had this went that way. Because a lot of times I may write a book where the antagonist and the protagonist, I mean the bad guy and the good guy, and both of them are me. You know what I'm saying? in a sense, because the bad guy could be some of the things I did when I was reckless, and the good guy could be who I knew I should have been. You know what I'm saying? And so it may be, you may have a touch of me in both of them. You know what I'm saying?
So you never wrote like an autobiographic novel. No. You just put your experiences in the fictional novels.
Right. I think that's on the shelf for now, but I'm gonna do it. But there's a part of me that's like, okay, I need to reach the pinnacle of redemption before I write that. You know what I'm saying? There's some things that I need to accomplish. And when I write that is when I'm walking back into prisons and I'm able to stand in front of the guys in prison and tell them what it feels like to be free and what they need to do while they're in there. And when I reach that point where I'm going back into prison, then I'll be able to write that autobiography.
Okay, so you still got some redeeming to do. So when you wrote those first 4 books, you still locked up, right?
I was still locked up when I started my company. I was still locked up.
So you started the company in 2012, though, right?
Yeah, I didn't get out to 2018.
Whoa. See, I was reading the website a while ago, you know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, okay, he's been out for at least 10 years.
Oh, so no. I just got out. I've been out 4 years.
4 years, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely let me Stella Joy Nettle says, indeed, thank you for watching, Stella. And Misha Turner, boss man, I'm in here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.
No doubt. Misha is one of my authors. Stella, too. She's a good friend and all of that, good supporter. No doubt.
So you started the company in 2012, but didn't get out to 2018. So you spent 6 years in there moving and shaking.
Right.
So you was writing at that time as well as publishing other people's books? Or?
Yes. I was writing. I started off with just my books. Now, what I'm going to have to do here, I'm going to have to definitely shout out Sean Walker, who is the COO of Lockdown Publications, because she really, really did a whole lot of all the work when I was in prison. And I want to say, Sean, if you listen, I apologize for fussing at you all those times when I was telling you do this and that, because now that I'm home and I'm doing most of that, oh, you had a whole lot of work to do.
Shout out to Sean Walker.
Yeah,
Shout out to
no doubt.
Sean.
Yeah, so I started my company in there.
Is
I
that
had
coffee? Is they call it coffee?
That's definitely coffee. Yes.
What's up, coffee? Shout out to coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I started it from in there. Now, truth be told, I had somewhat of advantage because I had a contraband cell phone most of the time. I was, everything. So I was able to reach out. So everybody now. Back then, so I probably had one from like 2008. I mean, different ones, but of course, one. So I was able to keep in contact that way. And you know what I'm saying? And everything. So with the assistance of Sean doing a lot of the work and this and that and other people, I was able to build a company. And by the time I came home, Lockdown Publications was strong. You know what I'm saying? And then when I came home, I just took it to another level.
So now, because many people don't know this, so was Lockdown Publications already in the prisons then?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was absolutely, because see, I had a platform because I had been a bestseller with Trust No Man. And so many people in the prison systems, feds and all of that, they could relate to the book because it was so real to them and they loved the book. So I had that platform because of that. And then I also had the credibility because they knew I had lived that life. You know what I'm saying? And they knew that I had been in prison, and not only being in prison, they knew I was in prison and I was a man in prison. You know what I'm saying? They knew that I was a reputable man in prison, not just doing the time. Because sometimes people do a lot of time, but they don't do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? So they knew that, and so that's how that is.
So man, so by the time you got out 2018, so you didn't miss a beat then. You like how? Okay, what was the transition like? Like you said, at 20, 5 years, and even though you're doing what you're doing, you already got your goal moving, but it still had to be sort of a transition period. How did you
Well, so the transition is mostly mental because financially I was straight, so I didn't have no struggle. So I came home, you know what I'm saying, I paroled out. They wouldn't let me get in my own place at first for 90 days. So I paroled out with my daughter, stayed with her for 90 days, got my own house and all of that. So the transition wasn't like most guys who got to come home and start with nothing. I had the advantage that I didn't have that problem. You know what I'm saying? But right. So that made it easier, but it was a mental transition that 4 years later, I'm still not. I still institutionalized to some degree. Because before I went to prison, I was out in the streets all the time doing this and in clubs and hanging with my homies and we doing this and that. And now I'm in the house all the time. I don't go places, you know what I'm saying? And I'm more comfortable alone, like I did when I was in that lockdown cell for 7 years by myself. You know what I'm saying? Just looking at 3 walls. I'm more comfortable. I'm at peace like that because I have freedom, and the freedom is knowing that I can go anywhere I want to go. I don't have to go there, but I could go. You know what I'm saying? So I still have some things. Yeah, it's some things from prison that I still haven't necessarily, if you do something for 27 years, it's a routine, and it's very difficult to break that routine. You know what I'm saying? Because it become a part of you. So I'm much more of a loner now than I was before I went to prison.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So and I want to say one more thing. Like in prison, the slightest violation get punished very hard. So if a person do a small thing to you, you punish them hard so that they know not to escalate it, because if you let them get away with that small thing, they're going to do something else. Well, that mentality came with me home. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes the slightest thing, now I don't punish them physically, but oh man, people tell me I'm too hard. They like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? Because, and that's why it is very difficult for me to have a successful relationship, because one argument, that's a wrap. It's over with. We ain't doing that no more. That's the truth. We ain't doing that no more. That's a wrap. And
Yeah,
prison then taught me that I could live without anybody. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I
And
hear
so
you
it's
talk
very
about
easy.
relationships
It's
sometimes
very
too.
easy for me to cut somebody off. That's the thing. And that's not always a good thing, but that's how it is.
So let me ask you, because once again, I know this is a stigma in the black community, but I also know like PTSD
Hmm.
is a real thing, right? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So have you ever considered talking to somebody? You know what
I
I'm
have
saying?
that hood mentality, like I don't need to.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I admit that, but I done had an ex or two tell me I need it, but you know what I'm saying? But I'm
yeah.
like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
you're really good because you
yeah,
can have, like you said,
right,
like knowing is half the battle. You say, okay,
right,
I
right,
know that I still got some issues,
right,
so I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying?
right,
I'm cool with these issues I got. So,
right.
but
It
I
just
think,
makes me, I think that if I had counseling, I could be better in a relationship, but because a relationship don't matter to me, I don't care. You know what
okay,
I'm saying? It don't,
okay.
not like that, you know what I'm saying? Because, and so that's just my mindset like that. But yeah, I definitely know that I still have that. I know that without a doubt.
Stella Joyce
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm not
shaking
going
my
to the
head.
shower. I'm not taking a shower at home with a shank in my hand or nothing like that. But I'm saying I still have some, it's some things up there that's still there. I know that.
That's to be expected, man. That's to be
Hmm.
expected. And my mother, she used to work in the federal prison too. She said, "Not a contraband phone." Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Everybody got them joints now.
yeah, everybody. Yeah, no
I be
doubt.
getting calls sometimes from them guys. I be like, man,
Hmm.
different number, different Texas. But
Right.
so your company actually focuses on guys who are still incarcerated, right?
No doubt. Thus the name Lockdown Publications for the guys that's on lockdown, because I remember how difficult it was for me to become a published author. So I started the company, and that was my aim, to give people that's incarcerated a chance to get published, the avenue to get their books published. Now, that don't mean we're going to publish anybody. You got to have good work. But I give you an avenue to get your book published. So yeah, we definitely concentrate. We have many authors that aren't incarcerated, but one of our most of our authors are incarcerated. So
You
yeah,
say about
that's the
70
whole
or
thing.
80%, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how do they get their works to you, and how do you, um, decide which ones to publish, and how do you let those guys down easy? Who you don't.
Okay, so when they can send their work. They usually mail us their submissions in the mail. Some of them have emails that they can send you submissions. Some of them have their stuff typed up on the street, and their family send it through a digital form. So it's all those ways we accept it. Like I said, we accept handwritten stuff. Now, if their work don't measure up, or sometimes we reject the book, and it doesn't mean the book isn't good. It just means we publish something too similar to it sometime
Okay.
already, or whatever the reason may be. And what I do is I tell them that, okay, we decided not to offer a contract, but don't give up, because myself, I've been turned down over 20 times. This is what you should do. If I've reviewed the book, or the person who reviewed the book has given me some critique on the book, I'll tell them what they need to do, and then they can come back and resubmit. You know what I'm saying? But what I do tell them is, because I believe this, like, I'm not one, if I rejected my own family and didn't publish their book because it just didn't measure up. And only thing's gonna happen is that uh I'm gonna publish it, and we both gonna fail, you and them. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And if a person's in prison and their book, for some reason you don't think it measures up, and you try to publish it, just saying, hey, I'm gonna give you a chance and do it, it ain't gonna work. And if it don't work, they're gonna blame you for it not working anyway. So
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
I'm 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 the kind of person, I like the truth, hard in my face. You don't have to sugarcoat nothing. My breath stink. Tell me, bro, you need to hit your grill. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Tell me whatever it is. So I believe in telling a person the truth. You know what I'm saying? So I'll
Yeah.
tell them, listen, your story starts too slow. Don't nobody want to read about this right here. This is what you
Okay.
want to. I tell it to them, but I don't do it in a way to kill their dream. I do it
Okay.
in a way to make them understand that if you want to succeed at this, you're going to have to get better at doing that. And if you're afraid, if you come into this and you just want to write something and then it's published, this ain't the place for you, because the best writers in the world are great rewriters. You have to go back and do
Okay.
your thing. You
I
see what I'm
like that.
saying?
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
Hmm.
And so you mentioned contracts, right? Because I know,
Hmm.
and you mentioned Miss Clark. and I've talked to some guys who, see, like I don't want to
Go
call
say
back.
what you say. Say what you say.
I mean, I
That's
just
what their opinion was. Yeah.
talking about those contracts or those offers. I'll say,
Right. Right.
where they can get, they. What did you feel about your offering? How did you try to,
So, you talking about why he offered me or what I offer people?
Both. You know
okay.
what I'm saying?
So why he offered me, I was new in the industry. And I wanted my book published, and I wanted a well-known name like hers on my company, and I did that. Okay. I don't feel that her contract offer and what I signed was a bad contract, because it was what the industry offered. And I did my research before signing it. Okay. However, because they offer you a certain amount of points or percentages don't mean you're going to get that. It just depends on how honorable they are. So now here's the thing. Why he didn't have a lot of authors, and I'm going to say that's probably why her company in the end failed, because they were very dissatisfied and they felt she cheated them in some kind of way. I've never gone on social media, anything to bash her. Because at the end of the day, I took what she did and I used her platform to elevate. So if she did not pay me what she should have, it's okay, because I used it as a platform. See, no matter what you do, I have an indomitable will, and it ain't going to stop me. I'm going to succeed no matter what.
I like that word,
without a doubt. Yes. So I'm, on that aspect, I'm saying it's okay. I took the platform she gave me, and I took it to another level on my own.
Yeah, because and then once again, like I said, I think one guy told me, I forgot what the number was, but I'm like, okay, well, you in prison, so you gotta, like you said, it ain't too many options you got, so I don't blame you for taking it, and once again, I can't even blame her for offering you, because
now,
you have no
like I say,
outlet.
Wahida didn't offer bad contracts. If they were unhappy, it was because she did magic with the numbers. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the numbers, the contract percentages, now the way they see it is, man, that's the only percentage, but that's what the industry says. But now it's a little different. But I always say this, because some people think, well, okay, they may say, well, why am I only going to get, we'll just take a number and say 25 or 30%, whatever it is from them. I could publish it and get 100% of my own. But then I always ask them, you'll get 100% of a grape if you put it out there yourself, or you could take 30% of a watermelon, and you tell me which one is the most. You know what I'm saying? And so it just depends on what your thing is, because in today's industry, being incarcerated is a hindrance, because you need social media to drive sales and everything. And if you're incarcerated and you can't be on social media and all that, it's going to hurt you some kind of way. So you're going to be dependent upon the publishers' credibility and what their fan base is to help you sell your books. Now, if your books are good, then it go there. But there are plenty books that are good that don't sell, and there's some books that are half whack and sell great.
And they sell because they got a great marketing team.
That's how it is. It ain't always the best books that sell.
Because I talked to Treasure Blue. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I know Treasure. Yeah, Treasure.
And we talked. I met one of his guys. I still go out the trunk because I just like meeting people. And,
I got you.
I still do that. But
that's a good thing.
So I met one of his peoples. They took me up with him. He was like, "Yeah, man, they gave me. I forgot the name of that book when I was a black. It's something about a girl."
I know what you're talking about. I know Treasure. I can't think of the name either, but I know what you're talking about.
He told me, he said, man, they gave him $300,000 advance for that book, right? And he said, I'm still paying that money back. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, because you ain't gonna see no money until you pay that back. You know what I'm saying? And he came in the industry at a different time. It's not like that now.
Ain't like that. Like,
no, the industry
would
much
give
different.
You $300,000 for your book. Now, because like I said, I take it now. Like, okay, give it here because I can do something with that $300,000.
Yeah, it's a different time now. Now it's a different time. There's many more urban authors. Back then, it wasn't a lot. And you got many platforms. Amazon makes it easy for anybody to publish it. So the writing game is watered down a lot. And it's other options. So now it's a different time. Even when he came in, and he came in the game a few years before I did, because I think he came in the game up under, he probably came up under Vicky Stringer then. And I think that's who he came up in the game under Vicky Stringer.
Hold on, I'm gonna end the radio show real quick. Join
Okay.
us next week, 106.9 FM Awesome Radio, but we're gonna keep it live right here. So you said he can't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. So you said you can't. He came up in the Vicky Stringer.
Yeah, but that's not the name of their company. They had a company. I forget the name of them right now, but back then they was the #1 company out there. You know, I can't remember the name of their company. They was so hot. You know what I'm saying?
Girl Lost. That's what his name was. Harlem Girl Lost.
Yeah. So I remember him back then. I remember him when he came up. So he's probably a few years before me, you know, in the industry and everything. But the industry has changed a lot, like many things. It's changed a lot since then, because back then there wasn't even any ebooks. It was all paperbacks. It wasn't no Facebook. It wasn't any of that. It wasn't no MySpace. You know what I'm saying? So the industry was much different, and wasn't nobody self-publishing like on Amazon. Or it wasn't none of that. You know what I'm saying? So he come up from then. I came up a little bit after that. And that's where your credibility came from, because you wasn't self-publishing your stuff. You had to have
a name.
Yeah, you had to have some heat.
So Misha Turner says she don't want an advance. I get that monthly. Is that one of your authors right there?
Yeah, that's one.
Okay.
Because she knows you have to pay it back. And so say it's like somebody give you a $300,000 advance, you go buy this, you go buy that, you go buy this, and then you ain't made $300,000 back in royalties for 3 or 4 years. You ain't getting no more money. That's just it. You know what I'm saying? I tell authors that a lot, like especially my authors that are incarcerated. You know, they want to hit you up. Oh, I lost my phone. I need $1,500. I need blah, blah. And I tell them all the time, bro, come a day where you're going to have to pay for this. You know what I'm saying? So that means you going to pay this. You ain't getting no royalties until that's paid off, but you're going to have other stuff pop up. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like I was when I was in the streets. You can't borrow on top of money. You can't borrow on top of debt. You already got a debt. Ain't no more money coming till you pay off that debt. Ain't no borrowing on top of another debt. We ain't doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No. Yeah. So, you know, so I get it why she wouldn't want advance and all of that. Because people think advance means they're giving you some money and you just get it. No, you paying that back first before you see another penny.
Off your sales.
Like, yeah, so, before you see any other money.
Like, I think what was it? Only like $1. Only thing, did he say it was $1 a book? Only thing he said it was that much.
Yeah, no. Especially back in the day, you know, it's like that too. Yeah. It's like that but most people don't understand from the business side of that how it's like. They like only make this and that off a book that sell. See, they think if their book is on sale for $15, $14.95, that the publisher is gonna get $14.95. Every time they book sell. Sometimes it's not like that. Somebody else is selling your book more than your publisher. The publisher is getting a wholesale price for it, maybe $6, $6.50. That's what they're getting. And then it's print costs and editing costs and marketing costs got to come out of that. So, you know, so most people don't understand, like authors these days, they may get 40% contract. Some may even get 50%. But what they're not understanding is it's a different time, and it's less to produce a book now. As an ebook, obviously, it don't cost much to produce and all of that, like it did with a paperback back in the day and distribution. So it's a whole different type of thing. But you know, like I said, when I was offered my contract back then, I did my research on what the contract should be. So the contract wasn't a bad contract. It wasn't the greatest, but then I also had to know, even though I had a good book, I didn't have a name. There was no guarantee that my book was going to be successful. She had to risk investing her money into the promotion of it and all of that. Now,
nobody was going in. Nobody was going looking for Cassius Alexander.
Not right then, but they was looking for her name. Her name sold the book because on top of that book it said Wahida Clark Presents. That's what they was looking at, and so that was her platform. I jumped onto it. Now, if she was playing fair, I would have received more money. But so I tell people, don't write for the money. I know you locked up and I know you want to make money, but don't write for the money. The money, like in anything, I believe this. I believe the money doesn't lead, it follows. It follows your hard work. It follows your dedication. That's when it comes. But if it's the first thing in your mind, that's a problem, because when you don't see the money right away, it's going to make you give up. You see what I'm saying? You're going to give up because you did this just for the money. See, me, I wrote for the love of writing. And dudes was in prison reading my book on notebook paper. Every day, somebody, hey man, let me read that book. It was a guy read my book. Trust me, man, he might have read it 30 times. Every weekend, he like, let me read that book again. I was wondering, was he trying to copy my book down and, whatever. But he just loved the story and related to the characters. And everybody was like, man, they would rather read my book over books that was published. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so you got to write for the love. See, I've always loved writing. Always, even when I was young. I used to be in the street, in the strip club, reading a book or reading paper. This was before it even hooked. Sometimes the ladies used to be like, you act like you don't even want to look at us. But that's me. I always was about reading, writing. I do that. And it's times where I got shot on the street and I couldn't get around. So I wasn't in the streets. You know what I'm saying? My people was in the street doing, I was at home and I might be writing something just because I can't get around right now. And when I write it, at that time I was married, my wife might read it and she'd be like, damn, you know what I'm saying? This is so good. But I wasn't thinking about that right then because I was getting $30,000 to $50,000 a day. I wasn't thinking about no darn book. You know what I'm saying? So I was like in the streets. So, but I always could write. I used to win writing contests when I was young in school all the time. Always could do that. And then in prison, it was, in prison, it was cathartic. It was like a peace of mind. I could sit there and I could write for hours. And the thing is today, so many guys contact me that was locked up with me. And they'll say to me, man, I remember when this book right here was on notebook paper and we was passing around reading. And sometimes dudes used to be, hey man, look, let's play some cards, play some spades or do this, play some chess. And I'll be like, nah, bro, I'm writing. And I might be writing all day. And they be like, man, some dudes cynical. They like, man, you a dope boy. What you writing a book for? And now they'll say to me, they be like, Cass, you know what, man, that paid off for you. You know what I'm saying? It went from the books and now to the movie and all of that. He said, I remember when you used to be at that table, right, and we want you to go do this. And you'd be like, nah, I'm working right now. He said, you had a vision and you stuck to it.
Now
I'm working. Yeah.
Let's get to the movie. So the new movie is to my casket drop.
To my casket drops, yes.
Now that's one of your books.
That's one of my books, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how did that movie come about?
Okay, so I'm gonna start here. The book came, I was doing an author contest. Me and another author, Aaron Debo, we had a contest to see who was the best writer. You know what I'm saying? The male writer. So we
inside or outside?
And I was in prison, he was out.
Okay.
And so we wrote the book and released it on the same day as a contest to see who we had. He had the same title. I had Till My Casket Drop. He had Till My Casket Drop. Different books, and we went up against each other. You know what I'm saying? And we put them out the same day. I hate to pat myself on, but I crushed them. But either way, I'm saying,
did y'all make the same concept, the story?
No. You write whatever your concept of your story was, and I wrote whatever my concept, and we let the readers decide. He did a good job. I'm not gonna say that, but mine ended up more successful. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's how the book started. And then with the movie, like I said, I chose that as the movie because it's what you call a standalone, one book, and it'll make a movie, as opposed to books that I have in series, part 1, 2, 3, that you have to make 3 movies off of. So I chose that, and it's a strong story with the content of what they're looking for. Because the thing I think most authors, or even in movies, you could write. Most dudes that been in the street and they know how to write somewhat, they can write to shoot them up when they're going down. They can write maybe even the sex scenes. Yeah. But can your story touch every emotion? See, I can make them laugh. I can make them cry. I can make them think. You know what I'm saying? I can make them afraid. I can make them anxious. You know what I'm saying? And in that movie, it's going to give you all of that. You see what I'm saying? So it was just about casting the right people to be able to bring those characters out, you know what I'm saying? And all of that. So that was the thing. And I was like, okay, I want to take this to a movie. I will tell you this. It's a brother, Silk White, that write. He do movies too on Tubi. He was one of my reasons. I'm like, you know what? I'm not holding it up no more. I see Silk doing this movie thing good. I talked to him about the movie industry. He told me some things, gave me some pointers, and I decided to go ahead with it.
And you financed it yourself?
I did.
And then you kind of shopped it around the different people.
Yeah, I had what you call they're called the producers rep, and they take your book to different streaming services and different places, and that's how it get done. Now we done got several more offers because there's different platforms you could put on. They're different. If the layperson don't know the difference in them, but you know what I'm saying? Because one, you put them on and you get paid off of the ads that they show, and you get paid off of viewership. And the other ones you on sites where they already have subscriptions like Netflix or this or that, and they pay you up front a certain amount of money, but that's all you'll make. You just get paid. So we have offers like that.
The ads or the upfront?
Well, the ones with the ads to me have an unlimited amount of money you can make. So you can make whatever, depending on how well you do. So I believe, but you can have them on both. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, because you have what you call non-exclusive deals. So you can have them on both. You know what I'm saying? So, so that's what we have. We already have the ad thing with Tubi, with the subscription things. We're in contact. We're in talks with 2 other places, and within a week or so, I'll know which one we go with. But the movie, I expect it to be out and live and running in November this month.
Okay, congratulations on that. And you actually got my man on. What's my man that played? Didn't he play Biggie in the?
Yeah. Oh, you talking about Gravy?
What's his name?
Jamal Willard. He played Biggie. Yeah, he's in there.
He played Biggie in Notorious.
Yeah. Jamal Willard. They call him Gravy. Yeah, he's in there. Trey Chaney, who's been on The Wire and all those things, he's in there. Marquise Moore, who played on BMF and Snowfall and all that. And that was one of my things. And that's why I allowed an investor to come in as a minority investor, because he had the contact with all of those people. Because when you're shopping your movie around, you can have a good movie, but you also want to know who is in it. Do I got some names that's going to attract viewers? You know what I'm saying? And so that was part of the reason why they did that. And we brought in some actors and they did their thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. So then after that, what's in the works after that?
Okay. So presently we are working on a book of mine called Restraining Order. And for those that are familiar with me, I wrote that with my assistant Coffee. It's a 2 parts, and we're gonna turn it into a series that's plays like a Netflix series, and it'll be 10 episodes season 1, 10 episodes season 2. So we're starting to do that now. We expect to start shooting in March. We expect to start filming.
That sounds like a love drama.
It's that and like domestic violence and love, but it ain't. For those that read the book, they know. You know what I'm saying? Because see, I have the ability to take a character that most people hate and turn them into someone that they love and hate, because that's how it is in many ways. You got some people that do bad things, but they also do good things. You see what I'm saying? Okay. And that's the whole conflict, because usually a person ain't all bad. You can find the worst person or the worst, or they committed the worst crime, and they got people that love them too. You see what I'm saying? Because it may not be a part of them. See, like me, I know for a fact you're going to find different opinions. I'll be respected by most. But if some people ain't going to like me, I had bad relationships where a woman think this about me or something, and some that think the world of me. You know what I'm saying? And so it be like that. But so Restraining Order, yeah, it is that. It got the whole thing, the love. Even in the movie we put out, it got all of that. It got the love, it got the violence, it got the, all those things. You know what I'm saying? So in Restraining Order, I think that I think it's gonna grab real good, and we're gonna definitely do it.
You can do some things. So speaking of that, because all the first books, I guess, was urban novels, right?
Right.
So when did you kind of break off, or have you broken off from that?
Never breaking off. I'll never break off. Some people can tell me what they want to tell me. I ain't mainstreaming it. I'm an urban dude, and I'm gonna do urban. Now, in this book, Restraining Order, it's still urban. However, it has other aspects that, because Sean is not from that life per se, she softens me so some parts of the story, she has the softer parts of writing. My co-writer.
Sean,
that's Coffee. Yeah, that's Coffee. That's her writing name, Coffee. That's my assistant. Okay. So in her writing, she has the softer part, but I still got all the other stuff, all the street stuff in it. It got all that in it too. But it also has the softer side of relationships and things. But the guy, the main character, he's a street dude, and he in the street, and he bought his business, and then and the thing about it that makes it complex is that he's abusing his woman, but it ain't necessarily that he's abusing it is why. What make, because that's always my case. If I read a book and this dude is a cold killer or he's a certain way, I get it, but I need to know how he became that way, because there's something that made me who I am and made me behave how I behave, the things I did in the street, good and bad. There's a background to that, all of it. You see what I'm saying? And I need to know what made you become this. So when I see somebody who can do this or do that, I want to know how he get to be that way. And so in the story and the telling of the main character, it's going to flash you back in his life, and it's going to make, because say if you find a man that, even if it's a man that dislike women, you know what I'm saying, a misogynist or something like that.
Okay.
It's some reason why they're that way. It's something in their life that made them act that way. Sometimes a person can relate to it and soften to it. Sometimes they're like, okay, you know, whatever. And so in that story, it gives you all of that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
And you mentioned that, like, I got to go back to this. You said,
okay,
what was it that made you your way? That if you had to say.
Well, if you talking about the way I was in the street, okay, yeah. So I've always been competitive in basketball, football, boxing, all those things. My mother used to tell my brothers, I got a brother that's been locked up since 85. I was talking to him on the phone the other day. And he said, man, I remember mom telling me, don't throw him that ball because he'll run through a wall trying to catch it and kill himself. So I'm like that. I got determination that's like that. You know what I'm saying? And so that made me, once I got in the streets and this and that, it made me, you know, I'm fearless. That's always been me. I'm fearless. I don't care. Even in prison, one time it was me against 30 dudes in a gang. And I told my homeboys, y'all locked down. I got this by myself. Now, some of them wouldn't lock down. They're like, no. But I wouldn't have won. There's no way I would have won with 30 dudes strapped with knives and everything, just me with 2 knives.
Yeah.
But it didn't pop off mainly because they had respect for me. But I was willing to die about it because I was in the right. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So I don't fear. I don't fear that type of thing. I don't fear those things. So what I'm saying, in the streets, some of that made me how I was. Now in relationships and different things, I can be different. It just depends. You know what I'm saying? And there's things in my life that make me how it is. If you've been in prison and some woman then abandoned you or turned her back on you, or friends or whatever it is, it can do one or two things with you. You know what I'm saying? And whatever that case may be, I could look at it rationally and say, well, I had life in 30. What do I expect a woman to do? She got to go on with her life. But at the time, I ain't looking at it like that. You know what I'm saying? At the time when it happened, I'm thinking, okay, I done did this, I done that. And I also had to look at, okay, you done had children outside your marriage, you done did. So rationally, I understood it. Now, the only thing, like I say, when it make me, you know, your experiences will make you that way. It'll make you distrustful of certain things. You know what I'm saying? It'll make you hard on certain things. You know what I'm saying? And I admit that I can be very hard because I don't like excuses. I'm one of the people that don't like excuses. I don't want to hear all that. I understand it, and all that, but it comes a time when I want you to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? But I do have a better understanding because of, you know, a guy taught me this one day because we played basketball and I was the point guard. So I used to be all on him sometimes, you know, making them do it. He told me, he said, you know what, Cass, you can't be a good leader treating everybody the same way because some people don't respond to that. Okay. So if you hollering at him, it's going to make him play bad. You can't do it to him, even though that's what you want to do. So you can't treat them all the same. Some people you could be rough and rugged with, and some people you have to be. Now, I admit that I'm not all the time always good with the people that need pampering all the time. I'm not good with them all the time. I'm not. I admit that. You know what I'm saying? Especially men. But I'm saying I can do a little bit and give you some encouragement. I'll do it some way, but it's a point in time where you're going to have to show and prove. Yeah. Do you really want this? I can't want it more than you want it, not for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about what made me, I guess my life experiences from childhood to the streets to everything helped shape me to who I am, good and bad.
So what do you see yourself after, you know, I know this sounds cliche, you know, where do you see yourself in like 10, maybe 10 years? Where you see yourself taking this thing that you already got, you know?
I see myself to put out major movies. Always gonna be a publisher because I'm not gonna ever close the door on the people that's locked up. I see myself going to prisons, speaking to the guys in prison, you know what I'm saying? Telling them how to prepare themselves from come out here and what they need to be doing in there. I see myself doing those things right there and just enjoying my freedom, my life. I'm gonna always remain goal oriented. So I'm quite sure I'll be elevated more in the movies and other business ventures. But as for the things that, I mean, I'm not gonna be satisfied till I'm in a prison that I actually served time in, and I'm talking to the guys in there, and I'm walking in there and maybe even seeing an award or something that I did time with the people who never thought I would amount to. See, I don't think people looked at me and say, he ain't going to amount to nothing, because they can always see my intelligence and my drive. You understand? I think they can always see that. But sometimes a person counts you out because of what you do. You know what I'm saying? Or what you're in there for. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't want to say, hey, look, you see me now. I just want to go back in there and let guys know you just like me. And they're going to know it because I was in the same building with them, in a cell next to them. And they say it all the time when they contact me, man, I know this. You give me hope. You give me this because I seen you doing this. And so if you can do that, I know I can too. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I want to do.
One of the pictures that you had, you and another guy, y'all was on the y'all was in front of the backdrop.
Right.
You and that brother was in the cell of prison together.
We was in prison together. That's Cohart. He's a publisher, a very successful publisher and everything. Very, very. He's one of the top publishers as far as ebooks in the industry, without a doubt. If not the top publisher as far as ebooks. His name is Cohart. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Colehart, Cohart. So, so we was in the same prison together. In fact, I remember him coming up to me and trying to get me to get him a deal with Wahida at a time with one of his books. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I remember him. And we know each other from prison. You know what I'm saying? And we ended up splitting up. Matter of fact, it had been some years and we ended up at the same prison again. And I remember I was getting transferred to another prison and he was getting sent to a halfway house. I think he did 20 years. You know what I'm saying? They was letting him out. He was going home. And I was like, man, I'm glad you're out, which I was. But I was like, damn, when my time coming? And I think my time came like 2 years later, maybe, or something like that.
You didn't get parole. You actually served the whole sentence.
No, I didn't serve the whole sentence because I would be in there for life if I served the whole. See, here in Georgia, if you do 25 years, that's no life sentence. Your life sentence means life for real. But you come up for parole, but they don't have to let you out. Some people have done 27, 25. Some people done 35. Some people done 44 on a life sentence. There's no day where you can say I done all my time when you got a life sentence. You're not ever guaranteed to get out. You have a life sentence.
So you know what I'm saying? How did you get out? Like, what is the old sentence?
Well, so what happened was, of course, prisons were getting crowded. Younger guys was coming in. A lot of young guys coming in. They had life sentences in which they had to do 30. I'm quite sure that people knew we got to get some of the old vets up out of here and to make room for this or that. And plus, I had accomplishments. I always had a parole lawyer every time I came up, even though they were still setting me off, denying my parole and everything. I did some accomplishments. And then you got to think that the last 10 to 12 years, I was no longer dealing drugs in prison. So I had a pretty clean record. I done worked in education as a teacher's ed. I done did all kind of things in prison, but you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I just think they looked at it and said he served enough time for what he was convicted of. And I got another shot.
That's good, man. I'm glad you did, bro. 2018.
No doubt.
You did. What month was it?
I got out on September 24th, 2018.
So you a little bit over 4 months, man, and you hit the ground running.
Yeah, a little bit over 4 years. Yeah.
So that's amazing, man. I just want to once again congratulate you. You
no
actually,
doubt.
once again, an inspiration to me to to kind of step my game up,
right?
And, do some things different, man. So I certainly want to thank you for taking the time out. And the company is Lockdown Publications, right?
Absolutely.
Lockdownpublications.com.
Yeah, you lockdownpublications.com. You'll find our website there. Same thing, Lockdown Publications on all social media sites.
Is there anything else you want to leave the people with before we go?
Well, if anybody watching, I just want to say, no matter what your dream is, no matter how dark it seems, believe in yourself, never give up, and no matter what it is, you can rise above any situation you find yourself in.
Man, there you have it, man. From Cassius Alexander, aka Cash, publisher, author extraordinaire. I mean, I got a lot more questions, man, but I ain't gonna take too much of your time, and
Okay.
maybe I'll have you up on, again. But I definitely look forward to staying in contact with you. If
Okay,
there's
no
something
doubt.
to do,
No
man.
doubt. And I thank you for having me on your platform.
Man, I certainly thank y'all. And thank y'all all, Stella, Misha, Letta, Latoya, Shauna, Jane, everybody. If I miss your name, please forgive me. But I thank y'all, Layla, everybody who tuned in. We certainly appreciate y'all. And I hope y'all have a blessed, thank you so much. Thank y'all. I think I have a blessed day. And we will get with y'all next time. And peace and blessings.
Peace.